Yeah. Is that how you view disruption?
Yeah, I view it as random. Oh, I have a good hand cream on.
Yeah. Hiya, it's Emmy once again, and this is going to be my pre-production video discussing my idea generation and how I came up with the design work for my project. Yeah. You're probably looking through my vlogs and wondering, Emmy, where's the research video? Well, guess what? There's no research video. The reason behind this is because one, everything's already been recorded on my website, and if I made a video about it, then that's just me repeating points that I've already made. And also I need to consider time as well, because I want to meet the deadline on time. I want to make sure that I get my animations and pre-production stuff done, and I fear that I would bore you guys silly if I just repeated everything that I've done. So there's no point in wasting my time, and there's no point in wasting yours either. On top of that, the video would be so long, and there's just no point. But I will be talking about how some aspects of my research influence my design work and how that will further influence the final piece for my project. So yeah, let's roll the freaking intro. Wait, do it again.
Got that.
Okay, so before I began anything that involved concept art and illustrations, I firstly needed to organize myself with how I'm going to manage my time effectively. I came up with this genius idea of having a weekly timetable of what I'm going to be doing during each week. As reflecting back onto last year's FMP pre-production, I would often jump to different sections of design, and it became very overwhelming very easily. I would also evaluate what I've done each week as a tool of reflection and recording of what I've done during my project. For this year's FMP, I decided that I wanted to do an animation, as I wanted to challenge myself with a medium that I've used once in a blue moon. I've experimented with 3D animation before as a college project, but I didn't enjoy it as much as 2D frame-by-frame animation. I also did some online animation trends here and there, and I even tried twinning involving me and my friend's own characters, but I didn't like how that looked in the end, as I didn't like the bouncy looking visuals, as I thought it looked unnatural to me. With that in mind, I could finally move on to the idea generation. As any genius would do, I began to mood board and mind map potential ideas that I could work with. I knew from my research that I wanted to have themes of the paranormal and devoted attachment. The first idea I had was that it was going to be a story revolving around a group of characters that were in an alternative band, and they used their musical talents to extinguish ghosts and supernatural entities from their world. I really liked this idea, as I thought about how this could reach out towards a younger target audience of teenagers, as the story could be relatable to them, while also dreaming of one day making it big in the creative and music industry. I also liked the general vibe of the story, as I envisioned it to be really chill and down to earth about friendship and working together. However, my main issue is that there would potentially be too many character designs to work with at once. This was a little bit of a time management issue, as I would have to redraw these characters in a 2D frame-by-frame format, and I would also imagine that these characters would have a lot of details to their design. With this initial idea failing, I moved on to a second idea where I narrowed it down to only 2 characters instead. Taking inspiration from the first idea on the concept of the paranormal ghost entities, this idea is based in a school environment, still keeping that relatability towards my target audience. One of the characters' best friend had tragically died, and the audience doesn't know who she is and how she passed on. Her friend mourns her and needs to find a way to bring her back from the dead, and this ends horribly, however, as this disturbs the natural order of life and death, and she needs to learn to let go. This is the idea that I really liked the most out of the 2, and I decided to come up with different alternative storylines relating back to this base idea. One of the storylines is that a ghost girl possesses a small plushie, which protects a girl, but this ghost forms a toxic and codependent attachment to the living girl, transforming her into an evil entity gradually through the story. The living girl has to find a way to exorcise this ghost, but it's hard for her as she also feels the need for her protection and guidance. The second idea is that one of the characters is dead, and her best friend is mourning that friend who she loves dearly. She tries to bring her back by using an old witchcraft book that she found and puts it in her childhood plushies that was given to her by her friend who died. She isn't the same, however, as it's considered black magic, and she becomes evil, and she needs to find a way to send her back to the world of spirits. The third and final idea is that a ghost girl haunts a specific part of the school, and she becomes attached to a living girl, as she is lonely and doesn't have any friends. They both start to develop a relationship that simply cannot work due to the boundaries of the dead and the living. The living girl has no choice but to let her spirit go. With this done, I created a survey on 3 alternative storylines that I've made and sent it out on Teams and onto online group chats. I did this because I wanted to see what storyline was the most successful, as this would help me gain a bigger audience. I also added the characters that I officially designed later onto the survey, so that they can envision these characters in the story I proposed. In the end, I was able to get around 25 votes, with option 3 being the most popular. Later on, I developed my narrative even further by developing the relationship and personalities of the 2 main characters of Stacy and Pandora. I firstly drew out mind maps and written down their dynamics on how I could make these characters appealing towards my target audience. I also began writing down the different acts that was going to happen within my animation. So there are in total 4 acts, and my thought process behind this is that the story is supposed to be an allegory for holding on to the past will destroy you, to which it will lead you to your breaking point, making it an internal boundary that Stacy needs to overcome, to which she chooses not to, leading to her death. I also used the concept of naming the ghost Pandora as a reference to Pandora's box, to which when opened it unleashes chaos. The story was also inspired by a My Chemical Romance song called The Ghost of You from their 3 Cheers for Sweet Revenge album. The song explores the profound grief and loss of the lingering memories of a loved one who passed away, and focuses on the emotional heartbreak and pain after losing someone, which was something that I wanted to explore with my 2 main characters. And now, it is time for the intermission.
Stop being so suspicious.
Okay, now I can finally move on to the fun part, which is the design! For my early concepts, I created 8 different character designs for each of the main characters of my animation. The inspiration behind the costume design was clothes from the early 2000s and the grunge aesthetics. I also needed to find a way to incorporate the character's personality into their design using their clothes to further exaggerate this. For Stacy, I've noted down that she is quite a closed-off character that is disconnected from the people around her after the death of Pandora, but emotional when she's alone. Looking at references online to spark inspiration, I've chosen 2000s fashion as it was quite experimental, expressive, and overall a lot more colourful than the fashion that we have today. To reflect the character's personality, I tried experimenting with different layering of clothing. I also like the concept of hair holding memories, so I wanted this character to have long hair, and this is to reflect how much she misses her friendship with Pandora. With the 8 designs, I really liked design 6, 3, and 7. The reason being is because I really like the layering and I like the really tall boots, but I had to scrap 6 and 7 because they had really complex accessories to them, and I also had to consider time again. I didn't want to have too much like little details in their design, as it would be a little bit too hard for me to animate, so I tried to turn it down a little bit. So I ended up choosing number 3 as my favorite design because I quite liked how the layering of her shorts and tights and her leg warmers, I thought it added like visual interest, but it was like simple enough for me to animate overall. With Pandora's character design, I wanted her to look a bit more alternative compared to Stacy, so I was experimenting with using like different logos and graphic t-shirts and adding more like just basically more graphic design onto the clothing. I also wanted to experiment with alternative hairstyles as well. What was really common with all 16 of these designs is that I managed to insert some stars onto their designs, and this got me thinking about like what this could represent. I decided to do a little bit of research on what the negative connotation of stars could mean, and it got me thinking about the reverse star tarot card. And the reverse star tarot card represent a lack of hope and despair, helplessness, a disconnection. So this could represent the disconnection between the 2 girls. I also wanted to reflect Pandora's personality into her character design. So her personality is that she's quite mysterious, as the audience doesn't get to meet her until the very end of the animation. So I was experimenting with like a lot of different layering of clothing as well, similar to Stacy's concept art, and I tried to experiment with different hair textures as well, and I ended up liking design 2, 3, and 5. The reason I liked number 2 is because I thought there was a lot of visual interest towards the design, and I liked the little ghost hair pattern in the fringe. But again, this was a very complex design, and I have to redraw this character multiple times in a frame by frame animation, so that one got scrapped. I really liked number 4 because I like the side ponytail and the hoodie and jeans combo with the circular glasses, but the problem is that one of the characters already has glasses and I don't want them to look too similar, so she got scrapped. So I ended up choosing number 5. The reason I liked number 5 is because I really liked the short hair with the longer strands coming from the side. I thought that was visually interesting, and I also liked the jumper and jeans combo, but I still kept that little, like, those little details in the jeans with these fabric patterns and star patterns on there to keep that symbolism. I also tried to represent her short life with her hairstyle, especially with her hair a lot shorter compared to Stacy's hair, and the long strands could represent how she's not able to move on into the afterlife, and there's something keeping her in the school, and that's why she has these long thin strands. After being happy with the initial sketches, I began creating official character sheets for my animation to use as references. After being happy with the sketches, I made sure to do the line art and color for the characters. Once that was done, I did some more experimentation with the characters' color palette and costume design, just to see what they would look like in different styles, as well as to see if I was happy with the overall colors and costumes I chose initially. At first, I really liked the purple skull Stacy, because I thought that just looks so tough, man. But then I was like, this would just give away to the audience, like, everything that's gonna happen within the story, so I scrapped it. Also, I wanted to have some color symbolism later in my animation where pink and blue mixed together makes purple, and that represents the girls being together, so I didn't want to do that. So even though it looked cool, I unfortunately had to scrap it, but I was still happy with the first initial design though, so I wasn't all too sad about it. With Pandora's design, with Pandora's experimentation, I added a Riddler logo from the Batman 2022 movie because I thought that looked really cool and I wanted to put that print on my character. And I also added a band logo such as 9 Inch Nails because I also thought that logo looked cool. Initially my thought was that I wanted my audience to recognize something in the animation so that they could share it around with like other fans of that similar interest. But I was just like, no, I want to have my own original content. I don't want to include any references, so I kept the original design of the little cat graphic on her jumper, which it has symbolism later. After that, I then created the official character sheets for my animation of the 2 characters. The reason I did this is because I wanted to see what the characters would look like on the side profile, the back, the front, and also a little expression on what they would look like if they made a face in the animation. I also included their color palettes with their symbols on the side, so I could use it as a reference for the animation if I needed to color them, for example, or if I needed to have a side profile of the character, then I could just trace it over. This was later supported with concept art of the characters interacting with the environment, but this was mostly with Pandora's character. Looking back on it now, I kind of wish I did some concept art of Stacy interacting with the environment as well, so that it's balanced out. I'm now gonna go into my experimentation with traditional materials.
But I'm the hardest worker.
I don't think that's
true, I mean. I think it's true, Gracie. Don't say that.
Don't look at me like that, man. I'll scrap you in skanky. I'm part of a gang. Have you guys went to Skeggy Butlands?
Skeggy Butlins.
Yeah.
Skegness.
Yeah.
From this point of my pre-production, I decided to step away from digital and move on to traditional materials. I decided that I wanted to do some artwork where I didn't have any inspiration or music in the background. Instead, I took 5 to 10 minutes sketching out some patterns that... This later on inspired another experimental piece where I was using Posca pens, a biro pen, and some highlighters. And I created a half-body piece of Stacy being covered in these patterns. I decided that I wanted these patterns to represent a form of grief or abnormality within my story. In the end, I really like the look of these patterns because they're quite unpredictable, it's visually interesting, and I think I kind of unlocked my inner psyche. No, but seriously, the reason I did this is because this was inspired by my research on surrealism, where an artist would basically make an art piece by not having any prompts or not really thinking all too much about what they're doing on the canvas. Instead, they just let their hand do the work, they just let their mind go, and they create something that is kind of like a reflection on their inner psyche. I found out through my research. Later on, I then digitally manipulated the patterns because I wanted to see what they would look like in like other colors other than this red biro pen. I was experimenting with different blending modes, different textures. I took a primary photo of a moss texture that I found in the forest while I was out frolicking, and I overlaid that, and I really liked the look of it, and it came out with this like colorful patterned background with this contrasting black background behind it. And then I created a digital piece of Stacy to represent her grief. This is what led to the inspiration of the title of my project called Summer's Gone. As I was listening to a song by Honeydip called Summer's Gone, and when I was listening to it, oh my god, I got this sense of existential dread and sadness of the instrumentals and vocals. Even though the lyrics were in Japanese, I didn't understand the lyrics, but I could almost understand the feeling of what the song was trying to convey. I was also thinking of the allegory of the summer season and how it symbolizes the blooming of life, and it almost has this warmness to it, which is how Stacy views Pandora as her summer, further emphasizing the bond and connection she has with her. And since her death, her summer is gone and it's no longer bright and warm. To further explore my ideas, I then decided to do a quick animation test traditionally by using post-it notes, cards, and a light box. I used a paint pen to sketch out a little pose of Stacy holding a star. After that, I then made multiple drawings of that same pose by making the line art different each time. It was a lot more visually interesting. I've created 4 drawings in total, and I've tried to make it look like a mixed media piece. I've even ripped up some paper to create the effect that she's coming out of the page. And then afterwards I edited it on CapCut and added the photos together, and I repeated the frames over and over again, and I got this line boil look. I then added the lyrics "Picture Me" on the Blue Blue radio, which was taken from a song by the 5678's Blue Radio. I added those lyrics on top because I was thinking of the color blue, and with Pandora's primary color palette being blue, this was just Stacy thinking about her friend. Overall, I was really happy with this piece. I've never done traditional animation ever, and it was quite fun to do. I liked it a lot. This will definitely influence my final piece later down the line as I do some traditional animation for it. After that, I then stepped away from the animation bit, and I just wanted to create some clay models of like these random ghostly looking things. The reason I did this is because, one, the story was making me really sad at this point and I just wanted to step away from it. And secondly, I haven't played around with clay in eons, and it would be really interesting to see what I would make if it wasn't like exactly related to the story I was making. The materials I played around with was air dry clay and plasticine. I painted one of the air dry clay models. I call this guy the Rapture because he's just so cool and green, and I just love his like freaky tongue and his piercing blue eye. It's truly amazing. And then I made this secondary piece of his brother, I want to say. I was also like experimenting with the different tools to shape these little guys. The little plasticine Rapture, I wanted him to have like this the eyeball of a fly, so I tried to like poke some little holes into his eye to give it like this hexagon kind of thing, but that didn't work out all too well. I then created a little clay model of Stacy in a like inwards pose. I decided not to paint this one because I wanted to like display her disconnection from the world, and with this was also like supported with like the way she was like posed and everything. And that's it for the pre-production vlog. I'm so sorry that there isn't like a lot of like funny clips going around because all those funny clips went into the other vlogs. Sorry, it's just speed paints. But yeah, that's it. I do go into a little bit more detail on my website about my work. Thank you for watching. Please watch the other vlogs, especially episode 3, because that's my favorite episode. Okay, thank you, bye!